Hey everybody, Dale Reynolds here. Do you own a Chevy Cobalt? Do your blinkers do this? Come on, man. Well, if that's the case, then it sounds like that the internals in your multifunction turn signal switch have failed. I'm going to teach you guys how to replace it the proper way here in this video. So this is the part that you're going to be replacing. Very common for GM vehicles of this vintage. Parts inside this have failed. Now you don't replace the parts on the inside, you just place this whole assembly. So we're going to replace this whole assembly. These are the tools that you'll need. A number 1 short Phillips head. I also have a small flat blade screwdriver as well. This right here is an electric ratchet. It's a 1/4 inch. You need a 7mm socket. You do want an extension. This is just a little, plastic rivet tool here. These are the tools that you'll need. Everybody should be able to have them. I've been saving this for a rainy day, and yes, as you can see, it is actually raining. Anyway, first step, and by the book, this is what GM recommends you to do. You'll take this tool, stick it in behind, and just gently pry. I know it's going to sound like things are going to break. Just gently pry back. This will just pull back like this, and then that will come out. I do the same thing for this piece on this side. And again, just be really gentle. It's only plastic. You don't want to break it, but just respect it, Just respect it. Just nice and easy, and it'll come out. Like so. So now that you got those two pieces off, next step, take your Phillips headed screwdriver. There are 2 Phillips head screws underneath here. 1 and 2. Take those Phillips head screws out. You see those are what the 2 screws look like that are up in there. Now you have access to 2 7mm headed screws. One right there and the other one right there. Take your 7mm and you're just going to unscrew them. You may want to take your switch and go up with it. That way you have enough clearance. Don't be cool like me. Actually make sure you grab these screws and don't lose them. Well, now that you got these 7mm screws out, now you're trying to sit here and you're trying to pull this interior part off, but oh man, it won't come out. Oh, wait a minute. These little metal retainers right here are holding it in. Take your tool. These little retainers, they just slide off. Be delicate with it. Again, respect it. Don't just rip it off, because then you'll break stuff and you don't want to break anything. You just kind of work it. What I like to do is try to take the corner of the tool, get it behind, and try to pull out on one of the, the tabs on this. And what that'll do is it'll give you just enough clearance. And with enough wiggling, pulling, they will come out. You can reuse these. It's not a big deal. As long as you don't break them, you can reuse them. No problem. Now, you got 2 tabs here. Obviously, you got to pull it out in front of. You pull one side, pull the other side. What you do now is kind of pull it almost like straight out as possible. And then you kind of take it and you tilt it and you finagle it and you turn it and tilt it like this. And just be careful. But it's a little bit of a delicate procedure. And it is a little bit cumbersome, but it will come out with some patience. Like I said, be patient. You don't want to break anything. But now the centerpiece is out. Once you've got that little bezel out from around the gauge cluster, take your 7mm with an extension and go up under here. Little tough to see, but you got 3 7mm screws. There's one there, and then another one over here. Don't know if I'll be able to capture all 3 in one in the same shot, but you want to unscrew those 3 7mm screws from the bottom of your steering wheel column. Now you got those 3 screws out. This is what they look like. They're shorter than the ones that were up here. The ones that are up here were longer. Again, take your little tool, go right here in the front. It's actually easy. You'll see the recess. Just pry up. And when you pry up, that just comes apart. So now you've got the top piece out. Now it's easy peasy. This is why I disconnected all 3. Take your steering wheel, your steering wheel height adjuster, throw it all the way down, and then this entire piece, just be careful. It's got some pliability. Take your key out of the ignition first. Take the piece, as an assembly. Don't separate it. Well, I guess it's separated on me. That's okay. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't, but I try to take it out as one piece. Edit note, I am fully aware you can get to the multifunction switch just by tucking the bottom piece out of the way like pictured here, but this is per the GM service manual. This is what GM tells you to do, so this is how I'm doing it. And now just like that, here you are. Here's the assembly. This is what you came for. Once again, you can either use a flat blade screwdriver or you can use your tool like I have. There is 2 clips, okay? Just push down, kind of pull out a little bit, and then there's another one on the bottom. There it is, right there. Those 2 clips, just push them in with your tool, pry out a little bit. When you get them both like that, the whole assembly pulls out of its socket on the steering column. And then the very, very last part, disconnect the connections here. You see there's a clip here on this big connector. Take your little tool, kind of go underneath and pull up, and then at the same time with the other hand, pull this clip back. And then you've got another one here. There's a tab on this one. Push tab in here on the left-hand side and pull up and disconnect the connector. And there's the old one. See how that doesn't pop out? See, it's all kind of crooked on the inside? At least the right-hand side still works. The left-hand side is all messed up. You can actually see the point of failure. You can see, look at the crack right there. Very common. Way more common than I like to see. People will drive aggressively or they're upset or whatever. They'll, you know, they slam this left side down and they slam it and slam it and slam it, and then eventually it breaks. Got your old piece out. Now let's put the new one in. So once again, here's our new piece. I picked this up pretty cheap actually. Amazon. I think it was like 30 bucks on Amazon. You can't beat it. 30 bucks ain't too bad. Anyway, so make sure that this is set, you know, in the middle. You want to put your connections back together. Okay, so now your connections are back together. So take this whole assembly and you just slide it back into the groove on the steering column. What I actually like to do, and this is a little helpful tip, before you go and put everything back together, take your keys and just verify it works. Okay, so it works. Checking the headlights, high beams. Good, good. Now we're gonna start the car, because the biggest reason why you're doing this is because you want to make sure that they actually cancel. Yay! It cancels! Good. Now that we verified that this is actually working the proper way, let's put the car back together. Take your steering wheel, move it all the way up. And it's all the way up. That little clearance helps you. So we'll take this piece right here, and you see that this is where the ignition goes. So take this half. You see the little edge right there? Get that little edge in behind the dash, and then kind of line it up as such, and line it up to where you want that to be over. You don't want it to be under. You can put it together under on a mistake. It won't fit. Don't do that. It's got to go over the little trim on the multifunction switch on the right hand side. And then take the left hand side and clip it back together. Be mindful again of the steering wheel adjuster, and you just clip them together on the bottom as such. Once you do that, you got your bottom piece back together, and again you're making sure that on both sides the trim panel is over the little plastic piece on your switches there. Take your 3 screws that were on the bottom, run those back in. Just a little tip too, always start your fasteners by hand, especially since this is plastic. You don't want to cross thread, you don't want to break plastic. Don't use impact tools either. Do this with hand tools. We'll go ahead and run those 3 screws on the bottom, put them back together. Alright, now that you've got your 3 screws run into the bottom and they're holding this up, take the top half, and you'll see that there's 2 little nipples. I know, haha, nipples, right? Anyway, so these things right here, there's one on that side, and then there's the other one, okay? You're gonna make sure that when you put this in, that the nipples go right there. So you gotta feed this kind of flexible rubber piece over. It'll take some finagling, you'll need 2 hands for this. But what you'll do is you'll kind of take it, finagle it in on one side, go in on the other side, and then make sure that your piece goes over the top of that little nipple there. There you go. Both sides. Now the top part here, it just snaps back together. Top part now, you've got it like this, but what it does is it'll just snap back together, like so. And do it on the other side here, and it just push down, and it snaps back together just like that. Alright, so now you got the top piece back together. You moved your steering wheel up, so you had the clearance to put this bottom piece up. Now take your steering wheel, go back down with it. This gives you a little more clearance. You can actually lock it now. It is time to take your little gauge bezel. Now take your piece here again, with a little bit of careful finagling. You see that, start it behind, and just a little bit of careful maneuvering, wiggling. Start on the right, spin it. You see how I'm spinning it there? Spin it around, and eventually it's going to get to the point where it will kind of seat yourself in like that. You got, again, the two little nipples right here that go onto the very bottom. Put those through like that. They'll kind of snap in. Take your retainers, which you can reuse. As long as they're not broken, you can reuse them, and run them in. Nice and tight. Now take your longer 7mm, and again, run them into top where they were. And again, always start by hand first, and then run those 7mm back in. Now you're pretty much almost already home. So now the next thing that you got to do is take your little trim here, and you see that there is a lip Gallagher on the bottom of these trims. So it's a little bit difficult, but you got to take the lip of it. On this piece, you kind of have to push down a little bit, and you can do that with this too. I mean, it's plastic, but you can push this, you know, the bottom part of the dash down. Give yourself a little bit more clearance. You see you got two clips here, one there, one there. Line them up with the holes. That's right there. That's one of them, and there's where the other one goes. So what you have to do is kind of take it, force it down so that it's kind of like this. And you force it down enough to where this clip just seats in like so. And you can see that underneath, it's tucked back together the way it's supposed to be. And now you can just take it and push it back together like so. Now you want to do the same thing for this other side. Again, you've got a lip Gallagher on the bottom. All you shameless fans are going nuts. He just said lip Gallagher. Yeah, that's right. So take this, again, get to the point where it tucks underneath. This piece is a lot easier than the other one. But you take it to where it's tucked up underneath the dash like this. Got the clip holes lined up. Take it and just snap it back together like that. Now the last part is to take your Phillips head screw. Now that's the last thing to do is run your two screws back in, and that's it. You're done. Don't drop them like I did. And ladies and gentlemen, that is it. You are done. So ladies and gentlemen, that is it. You have just successfully made it through one of my videos. Not only that, but you've just successfully replaced the turn signal switch in your Chevrolet Cobalt. I do believe the same thing applies for the Pontiac G5 and for maybe even the HHR. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you for allowing me to give you some pointers and help you guys out. I love helping people out and helping people tackling their own problems on their vehicles. Be sure to like, share, comment, subscribe. This way you get notified anytime I put up any videos, you know, of the sort, if you guys enjoy what I do. Tell a friend, tell a buddy, tell your girlfriend, your boyfriend, whomever. Because I love helping people. I love helping you guys out. Thank you guys very much for watching. I will see you guys on the next video. And remember, if you didn't know, now you know. If you didn't know, now you know. 3 pedals for a good time. Yes. Yes, sir. I like that. Aw, man. Why?